Hey, how's it going everyone? This is the Anime Man. Oh yes, here it is. The big question that starts more community wars than the equally retarded sub versus dub debate. While most fans of the medium tend to end up loving both sides of the spectrum, there always has been this distinct border between lovers of manga and lovers of anime. And while the answer to the question displayed in the title of this video is, as it goes without saying, completely and utterly subjective, people tend to throw around this question on the internet like it's supposed to have a fucking objective answer. And quite frankly, I'm fucking sick of it. As a person who enjoys both anime and manga pretty much equally, I don't see why there's any kind of problem with loving both anime and manga at the same time, or better yet, letting people love whatever the fuck they love. But I've seen too many dumbass comments and arguments online of kids trying to persuade other kids that there is one medium that is better than the other. So today I've gathered a bunch of forum comments from both sides of the countless anime versus manga debates. And I'm gonna go through each one and make a counter argument against it to show you guys, hopefully, how fucking pointless this anime versus manga debate is. Let's start with hashtag Team Manga.
So much easier to skip boring parts and read really fast and easy to find.
I would argue that you having to skip boring parts of a manga says one of three things. One, the manga isn't made for you. Two, it's just a shit manga in general. Or three, you just don't like reading manga. Either way, if you're not enjoying what you're reading or what you're watching, then I think it goes both ways with anime and manga, don't you think? Manga, because it has a lot more of the story that the anime usually leaves out, and I don't have to wait for the anime to catch up to the manga, and I don't have to deal with fillers. While I will agree that there are a lot of anime adaptations of manga that do cut out a lot of the fat that was found within the original manga adaptation, I think that can only be said for anime series that were adapted from their manga counterpart. Because people tend to forget that there are some cases where the anime came first and then the manga. And there are some anime that weren't based on manga at all and usually do have to cut corners, especially if it's based on things like novels or light novels, which are generally a lot longer and generally a lot more fleshed out because of the medium of light novels and how the medium of light novels tend to work with information dumps. And I think the biggest thing that people tend to forget with all this is that there are fillers in manga too. It just really depends on the actual original manga having fillers or not, or whether or not the animation studio adapting said manga decide to also adapt the fillers or have to create fillers from scratch. Anime art is usually worse than the manga by the original artists. I want to ask, did you happen to watch the anime adaptations of series like Hunter x Hunter and Attack on Titan? Because compared to the original manga series, that shit looks amazing.
Well, I like manga better. I used to watch anime, but when I ran out of things to watch, I moved on to manga.
Okay, I think this argument pisses me off the fucking most. I don't know how much anime you've claimed to watch, but the argument of I've ran out of things to watch is complete and utter bullshit. Do you know exactly how many anime series exist in total? Let's just say I bet it's more than what you've actually seen. It's not that you ran out of anime to watch, it's just that you're too lazy to go and look for anime that's not on the first page of Crunchyroll. I prefer the manga style more. They express themselves more and you can adjust the volume of their voice in your head manually. What? I don't know, man. I think great voice acting usually leads to quite fantastic expression in anime as well. And what is this you can adjust the volume of their voice in your head manually? You know you can turn the volume up and down while watching anime, right? Ever heard of the volume mixer on your computer? Yeah, you should use that. Now let's look at the arguments made by hashtag Team Anime.
It's far easier for me to watch a mediocre or bad anime than it is for me to read a bad manga.
Why not just watch a good anime then? I personally like reading and watching crappy anime or crappy manga because that's what I like to do. But judging from this comment, you're clearly not on my side when it comes to watching anime and reading manga. So watch and read good content maybe. I'd watch anime over reading the manga any day. Seeing it in motion with subs is way better than reading a few lines of dialogue and looking at the still artwork. I mean, you say you're reading subs when watching anime, which is technically also reading dialogue, much like you do in manga, so what's the difference? Since I personally watch all of my anime without subtitles, just raw, I'd never have to really deal with this problem, but I've heard the one thing that sucks about watching anime with subs that I've heard from my friends who do watch anime with subs is that it's hard to concentrate on what's happening on the screen because most of the time you're too focused on reading what the characters actually said at the bottom of the screen. Because not many people can go back and forth between this text at the bottom and what's actually happening on the screen, or the action that's supposed to be happening. So unless you can somehow move your eyes independently to see the subs at the bottom and also the action on the screen, what's the difference between a still picture and an unfocused animation? For me, I'd have to go with anime over manga. It's kind of like when you read a book and then see the film version. Even if the film was not perfect, it will stick with you more. And I think that's because your brain does not have to work as hard you can. Just tune out and enjoy versus making things up in your mind to accommodate for the lack of sound and motion from printed material. When you can see the characters moving and talking and you can hear the world around them, it makes for, in my opinion, a much easier immersion. First of all, learn some grammar. And second of all, I have to disagree on your point saying that it completely depends on which series you're talking about. How much a scene or a piece of dialogue impacts me and stays in my memories is not dependent on the medium of which it is presented in, but rather what the actual context is and how it is presented. For example, I remember more quotes from the Slam Dunk manga than I do the anime because the manga was much more of a high impact for me. While I remember more scenes from the Akira movie compared to the original manga series because the colors and the animation, the timeless animation of that movie, stuck with me more than the context that it was displayed in the manga. So I think it's kind of unfair to clump all of it into its individual mediums rather than separating it between its individual series. Again, I think how much a series can immerse you and stay in your memory is dependent on the context of which that series is presented in rather than the medium that it is presented in.
In anime, I can emphasize, in manga not.
I think that's a personal issue more than an issue with manga. Since I, along with many other people, will say that they can emphasize just as easily with manga characters, if not better with manga characters. From personal experiences, depending on art style and composition of story, I find it easy to emphasize with manga more than anime. I also recommend you finish school because fuck that grammar, dude. I like both, but manga a time-consuming IMO. Well, I can tell you just from looking at my mouse stats that that's bullshit. Anime is time-consuming as fuck. In fact, depending on how fast you read, manga is actually less time-consuming than anime because with anime, it's a fixed amount of time. You can't watch anime faster or slower because that's just how it works. While with manga, you can read it at any pace. Judging from this argument, this means you must read really fucking slow or you can't read at all. Okay, I think that's enough internet burning for today, but can you guys see what I mean? Regardless of what side you're on, there's always going to be a counter argument based on your argument about whether manga is better or whether anime is better. I say you let people like whatever the fuck they like. If they say they prefer manga over anime, then you just let them prefer manga over anime. If people say they prefer anime over manga, you just fucking let them enjoy their anime while you can go enjoy their manga, or while you can go enjoy your anime. You know, like, why does everybody keep thinking that everybody in this community has to think the same fucking way as everybody else? That would just make for a boring community in my opinion. Because if we leave everybody alone, that way everybody gets to enjoy what they want to enjoy and don't have to waste their time on this kind of pointless bullshit. And with that being said, let's do the exact opposite of what I intended to do in this video. Down in the comments below, are you team anime or team manga? Time to start a juicy comment war while I just sit back and sip my tea. For real though, if we can get more of a sophisticated argument in the comments below compared to all these retarded forum arguments that I was looking up, then that would be awesome. Because although you guys can get pretty cancerous in the comments, most of you I know can actually come up with rather sophisticated arguments, especially a lot more sophisticated than the ones I showed you in this video. So down in the comments below, are you team anime? Are you team manga? Or are you team I don't give a fuck? But hey, with me making this video, are people gonna stop complaining or comparing anime and manga as entire mediums in general? No, probably not, because this is the anime and manga community we're talking about. We all love the same thing, but we all secretly hate each other. I love this fucking community. Anyway,